here. And as you all know, though it is legal in our states, it is not nationwide. This creates two different legal systems. So I want to ask the attorneys, how can our retailers in particular, are there legal steps they can take to protect themselves from any sort of federal issues? Are there additional steps that we have to take in this industry that is not, if I'm opening a shoe store, that I don't have to take, that I would if I'm opening a cannabis shop? So what are you advising your clients in the beginning? Jen, I see you're waiting in.
Go ahead, Jen.
I would kind of go back to that point that Sandy made earlier, which is C Corps are one of the best ways to protect yourself from the federal tax liability. And I love hearing a CPA say that makes sense, because a lot of CPAs are like, C Corps are so expensive, you get taxed twice. And I'm like, I know that, but $1 million tax liability on your personal home is kind of a problem. So I think the C Corps are a smart way to protect yourself from federal tax liability. Understanding how not to violate, or at least how to arguably not violate laundering laws is a good idea. You know, setting up all these shell companies to manage your retail store, and then having the swag store, and then maybe you're in the business of buying and selling precious metals within an hour, is also things that you might want to really carefully think about. You know, you may want to cash management, go buy some gold. Don't go sell it back the same day. Go hold it for a day or two so you can be arguably in the business of selling precious metals and buying precious metals and hedging your bet like a real investor would, not just a straight up, let me see if I can get a certified funds cash check, you know, for my cash because I have a cash management problem.
Yeah, I was going to speak on the laundering aspect of things as well. It's really, I think that if the hammer comes down in select instances, it's going to have to do with money. It typically does. So on that note, I would really pay attention to how you may be contributing to that conversation in a negative way. If you're putting money into the system, meaning into a bank, to be very, very careful about that, and to do so with the advice of counsel. And second, pay your taxes. Because again, I think money is going to drive many instances of enforcement. And if you start killing it, if you start making a lot of money, and somebody comes knocking, they're going to start taking a look at whether you pay taxes. And if you haven't, you're going to all of a sudden become at the top of the sheet of their list of companies they're looking at and interested in.
I wanted to corroborate.
Sandy, before we start off on this a second, why don't we explain what a C Corp is? Can you just give us a brief overview of what it is and how it differs?
Well, yeah, so there's different functionalities. We have a sole proprietorship. Thank you. We have a sole proprietorship, which can actually be a single member LLC that does not elect to be treated otherwise, is deemed to be called what we say is a disregarded entity. And a disregarded entity essentially is that while you have the legal liability protection afforded to you because you are an LLC, you function, we disregard that and you function as if you're a sole proprietorship. So there's a form called Schedule C that goes with your individual return. Again, it's on your individual return, you're reporting your business profit or loss. Then we have partnerships, which could also be multi-member LLCs, and all the proportionate profit or loss flows through to your individual tax returns as a shareholder via a form called a K-1. And then also we have an S corporation, which is also a flow-through entity where the share of profit or loss flows through a K-1 on your individual return. So in all these three cases, if there's an assessment or there's a liability, you are personally and legally responsible for these taxes, penalties, and interest. That's in contrast to a C corporation. A C corporation is taxed at the corporate level. The only way for you to derive money out of a C corporation is through one or two ways, and that's either through compensation like a salary or dividends. So therefore, if the C corporation has a liability, you don't have any responsibility for that unless obviously there's some fraud or something criminal, you know, that can pierce the corporate veil.
Thank you.
If I can just maybe add three things to what our panel has shared, and maybe kind of three practical thoughts in response to the question you asked. First of all, you know, as